Welcome to episode 110 of the Corey Shepherd podcast. Welcome back to all the new listeners. Welcome to all the new listeners, and welcome back to everybody who's been listening. I only know where to find this podcast and think by now, right? If you don't know, tell somebody, and if you're enjoying it, share it with somebody, right? But you see how much going on in the news cycle again this week, so there's an opportunity for me to come here and play more Kaiso. Hey, if you're listening to this a long time, you know this is one of my favorites, right? And I'm playing it today because I found out yesterday why I like this song so much.
Evelyn, whenever you dance, darling, it's like a romance. Because as you dip to make your stroke is your hip, just do the work. You have grace in every move. Shake your waist, let me move. Girl, work it up for me.
Work it up for me.
Work it for me.
Work it up for me.
Make it sweet for me.
Work it up for me.
Girl, do it neat for me.
Work it up for me.
You gotta work it for me.
Work it up for me.
Spin it round for me.
Work it up for me.
Groove it down for me.
Work it up for me.
Girl, this thing that you're doing, you don't know what you're causing. Feel my heart how it beating. Oh God, do whine if you're whining. You hear? Work it up for me.
Hey, I remember my father yesterday playing my little car that beat them mercilessly in the car yesterday. I ain't taking in the little car and this song come on. Everywhere when we get together and play card, you know, it's plenty Kaiso men playing, right? And this song come on and my old man told me he used to blast this going up Laventry Road when he was working in little PH back in the day. So I figure I must be getting a taste of this song because I discovered this song really doing research for this podcast and fall in love with this song. And now I realize like this song was done embedded in me already. One of the nicest little dancing tune, you know. And then some people just call themselves DJ and go and play all about and play, you know, when it comes to old school jam, you hear some Pal Joey and think, how did you play this, boy?
Evelyn, when you do the freak, darling, that does get me weak.
What do you do?
Every year the start to raise, you will sweat a high for days. And just so my skin does crawl, I say no, don't stop at all. Girl, work it up for me.
Work it up for me.
You gotta work it for me.
Yes?
Work it up for me.
Make it sweet for me.
Work it up for me.
Girl, do the thing for me.
Work it up for me.
Work it for me.
Work it up for me.
Spin it round for me.
Work it up for me.
Groove it down for me.
Work it up for me.
Girl, this thing that you're doing, you don't know what you're causing. Feel me heart how it beating. Oh God, do the whine if you whine.
Walk it up for me. Hey, welcome. I'll do the welcome already. Welcome to episode 110 of the Corey Shepherd podcast. Welcome back if you've been listening for a long time. And welcome to all the new listeners. Thank you for tuning in. Listen, the name of the singer is the Mighty Duke, right? The Kelvin Pope. And I was by my father yesterday talking about how much these fellas used to stay in character. I remember working on Park Street in TSTT back in the day. And Duke used to come there to pay his bill. It had some characters in Park Street, you know. Park Street, Duke was one who used to come and pay his bill all the time. All rounder. Twiggy. It's had a whole section of people, Larry Joseph, where when them come in, is vibes in the office. But Duke was one of them, always well dressed. If he didn't have on a long coat in the hot sun, he have on a see-through shirt. Maybe the see-through shirt was to make sure the heat didn't take him too bad, right? And he just always in character, always a superstar, and stands as the only man to win 4 Calypso Monarchs. So I just want to play that one before we start off the episode. But the real Duke I want to play is a song by Duke that was really sung about apartheid in South Africa. And I hear a piece of news this week where, boy, listen, judge a man how you want, yes, and who don't know a man passed and what a man went through, but I hear some news this week that shake me a little bit. Pick up the papers and you see murder and a fellow by the name of Pompey, who we know from around. Pompey's a fellow. People know Pompey. Pompey's a known guy. And wherever the walk of life was he come from before, because when you read to the social media comments, you see the OG know how to walk the road and the old school gangsters and things. But you also seen people saying, I'm gonna paint people, cause people. I don't know nothing. When I meet Pompey's a good dude, a easy smile, always pleasant, always well. And listen, Pompey, Pompey and them are one of the funniest stories I ever was a part of in my life, right? Rest in peace to Pompey, great one. But I sit down playing cards with 3 men, right? Here the 3 men I playing cards with. Pompey, Umba, and a man named Glenroy. If you know Glenroy is the man who used to throw all them Buju shows. But I wonder, the last time Buju coming out of jail, Glenroy had to be one of the main men who bring Buju, because I Buju brethren, and he's one of the main, when they do Friends for Life and all them shows, Glenroy is the promoter for them shows, right? And this is, let me put it this way, I see a nice boy in the squad, right? Everybody see my face soft, all my hand and them smooth and soft, I never do nothing in life, I never break night dew before. But we playing a little card game, right? And during the card game, the thing get quiet. You know how the thing is get serious when you're playing card, right? So the thing, and this is late night, I talk about is 11, 12 o'clock in the night, So every night at that point, we playing cards and we looking for food to order, or who want to make a food run or whatever. It's a little squad playing cards and thing. And when the thing get quiet now, I concentrating on my card and thing, and I listen good. I say, but wait. Everybody breathing real heavy around this table. Now, them days are gymming a little better and thing, right? Now, right now, I would be wrong that table breathing heavy too, because I ain't so up there. But them times I in the game a little bit. So when the place get quiet, I hear this breathe, and this is how people breathing around the table. I ain't saying who breathing how, but all 3 of them breathing, and it's a chorus I hear. I just hearing all different versions of that breathing, and I thinking to myself, what the hell is going on here? Why men breathing so heavy? Men drop asleep or something? People snoring? What's happening? But I not gonna say nothing about it, right? If you know something about me, I don't like to embarrass or call out nobody and think me and everybody good. The place get quiet, and eventually somebody go say something. So I keep quiet, right? And much to my surprise, Glenroy say, Pompey, you hear you breathing, you have too much size, boy. You're too fat, boy, Pompey, boy. You hear you breathing. And if you know Pompey is a man very deliberate and slow. So Pompey slowly look up from his card. And I'm leaving out the obscenities. I remember his men playing card and linemen. So you adding the obscenities for yourself. Pompey slowly look up from his card. He said, boy, you hear how you breathing? You talking about how my breathing? Umba start to laugh. Pompey said, Umba, you too, you hear all your breathing, all your hair, and all your breathing, all your hair, and how I breathing. And but Pompey, you songing worse. And then we have a real gangster we are talking about. You songing worse, Pompey. You hey, boy, you had to go on a diet, boy, Pompey, boy. You're too fat, boy. You had to eat some fruits. You know what is the late, great Pompey say? Pompey say, when KFC start to fry fruits, I go eat fruits. So I want to salute to the great Pompey, but there was sad news when I read it. You just can't believe it sometimes when you and it's just too much of that every single day for the past, I want to say couple months, including time I travel. Every day open the papers, there's people getting gunned down anywhere. It's a no safe zone. I hear about a partner of mine named Nico saying all the time. He said Trinidad is no safe zone. It's anything goes. We don't have a tourist area. Like how Jamaica and Montego Bay and Mexico and Cancun and things. It's no safe area. It's no truth. It's anything goes anywhere. And it's a matter of time before you open the papers or turn on your social media and watch the pages and you see one of your friends or somebody who you know died. Now, Pompey also, later on, after I know him and things started work with the guy, know him, people took call him Cache Boss too. He was around Cache, always used to be around Cache and around Wendell. So it's sad. And later, in the last half year, he was working with Bungie and Fayan and them. It was Viking Pompey, you know what I mean? Pompey going everywhere, traveling with them and everything. I suppose security or whatever role he used to play with the band. So you see Fayan pouring out tributes to him as well as Bungie and everybody around the Viking family. Ding Dong, Trevin Roberts, who I know is do some work with Vikings as well. And it's just a sad thing to see Pompey pass. But I wanted to take this song from Duke, right? This song is about apartheid in South Africa, one of the greatest, if you call it a scourge in human history, or a scourge in mankind treatment of one another. And Duke captured that in in this whole song. But wait to listen to the first verse of this song, for man. Listen to how much it sounds like what we're going through now. Yes.
We see on the news each day, human lives are blown away. Mothers and fathers crying, burying their dead and dying. How many more, I hear them say? Death is the highest price. Death is the total sacrifice. Yep, brothers rather commit suicide than continue with apartheid. I just beg me, Father, each day. Tell me, Father, tell me, how many more must die? How many more? How many more must die? How many more? How many more must die for liberty? Well, how many more before you set South Africa free? Mr. Botha.
Great Duke, eh? The lyrics don't die. Hey, you gotta like Calypso, you know. But if you don't like Calypso, something wrong with you, you know. But listen to that verse, how much it sounds like what it is we're going through now. And I try my best not to come here every week and bore you with a rant about crime or depress myself with a rant about crime, because I'm very mindful of all these topics and the effects it have on me. Eh? But the crime thing, what is happening? We're going through, what is this, a phase? There's a new normal? What is this? Post-COVID new normal in Trinidad and Tobago, where it's just, you could just simply say, all right, it's gang rivalry and it's this, and he was known to the police and the police was known to him, and it's just whatever happened. You see, we as a society, we almost completely desensitized at this point. None of it bothers us. It's just a headline. And the thing about it is, when the headline used to come once a day, like on a morning paper or something like that, it was different. And it was repetitive, you know, you're seeing it all the time. But now the headline come in as soon as it happened. Because by the time you do it, it's news before the news, TNT, whatever they call them, MYOB, you see it immediately and all over Facebook. And even the mainstream media posts it on their pages. So when you go to sleep, 11 o'clock, you're gunshot and Pompey dead. By morning, you don't have time to process that. And next one gone and the next one. And it seems as though, unless the people of a certain class of society, of a certain hue, we just continue to live life as normal. It's a sad thing. So I feeling it for McDonald Jacob too, you know, because coming here every week and I'm trying to be fair by not trying to say that the commissioner of police response to crime is weak, but unfortunately I don't see what the response to crime is, and nothing happening. Yeah, I guess he come and say last week that they're gonna change tactical. This man basically say, right, that people impersonating police in tactical uniform. So he gonna carry back the police to the days of gray shirt and blue pants. Now, I'm not sure if there's a crime fighting mechanism or is an ID type. I'm not sure what is his goal. So I don't want to knock it too much, because again, this man is an expert and maybe he know this, or he probably know this much better than me, who just come in here and talk really. But I can't see how that's gonna help us as the citizens who feeling like sitting ducks. I don't know if you feel like a sitting duck, but I certainly feeling that way. Current went the other night for a long time. We had our next blackout. The other day was a tree fall. This time the landslide. I realizing between that recession we now in or coming off of, they saying we good now. One of the things that I'm noticing is that TNTech ain't looking so right, because should a tree be able to fall and take out the country, the current in the whole country? Should the lands be able to slide and take out a tower that have we taken out the whole 30% of the grid, right? Is what they say. And current went here for about a couple hours. And then it went and come back about 4 or 5 times back to back. It just going and coming back. And I'm frightened for my little appliances. And I'm feeling like if with this thing where the government saying 000, people not getting paid on time, VAT returns not coming in time, the government have a financial problem that they ain't telling me about. And part of that financial problem causing TNTech not to do maintenance that they're supposed to do. Just my theory. And I could tell you, like I work in Guyana for long enough to see where current is go often, right? It's at that time when I was going in Guyana. I lecturing from must 7, 8 o'clock in the morning until 5, 6 the evening. It was 12 hours worth of lecture doing. And sometimes current go, and I only there for a weekend to do a lecture. So when current go, I telling the students, boy, let me rally through. Yes, you have enough natural light, let me go. I will sweat it out. Don't worry all yourself. We had to finish this because when I go on, I can't come back to finish this course material. So I slightly suspect here and tech not doing any maintenance work. You know, somebody cutting back on the maintenance work. But we step aside. McDonald Jacob, you have to give you a little more clarity on what's the plan here with changing the police uniform. Because if people impersonating police is what causing you to change the uniform, is it that what the uniform you're giving them now? It like these new polymer belts, or they're giving them some kind of polymer uniform that nobody can counterfeit and nobody can make. I don't understand. What are you supposed to do now? You change the thing to gray and blue. Like if gray and blue is inaccessible to criminals. Criminals can't access gray and blue. Agree. They must see how that put on a matter of fact. The men go and say, it's like I see people saying, good, big up all old school Pompey, original gangster, the old OG Pompey. Men go and pull out the OG police uniform, but they had there all the time because they had to upgrade it to the tactical uniform to catch up with them. They had to upgrade it to camouflage thing when Gary changed it to camouflage too. Well, I'm not understanding, like, what is the purpose? What is it doing here? These new polymer uniforms that people all of a sudden they can't tear, they can't they can't sell. Boy, listen, it's just such a poor and lackluster response to a very like a deadly serious situation that is embarrassing. Again, I'm saying that the commissioner of police could never be held responsible for the crimes. A foolish thought to think that the commissioner of police responsible for the crime rate, but the response to the fact that they are as actors that deter on the society, whatever societal reasons they have for crime to be where it is, call it gang related or whatsoever. The responses we're hearing from you, they're real uninspiring dread. You changing up the uniforms, and now the debate is police who don't want to go back in them uniform. For the police find they sexy in the black, you know what I mean, and their boots and their hard, and you know what I mean, they're looking better in these streets. I feel the police themselves like they lost the plot because all the voice notes here going wrong on the social media. How vexed police is that they had to go back and they had to put back in short pants and with khaki and long stick for inspectors again. They didn't want to go back to that because these fellas pulling more guilty. I'm not sure what's the plan. It just sounds like the strangest thing to say. Almost as if this was an initiative already. Put it this way. If I already had this initiative on the cards and there's something I was going to do and was in the making, when they put a microphone in front of me where you have a weekend with double figures being murdered, this change of uniform not going to be anywhere near the top of my list of things to talk about because my priority would then be what is the situation here. I need to understand these new polymer uniforms. It's going to help all you not shoot one another when all you go there and accuse people or shooting the people and say that it's hogwash with friendly fire. Is these new uniforms? What these new uniforms doing so? It's the greatest thing I've ever heard. But boy, listen, I don't know. Again, I try my best not to come here and make it a crime podcast, but it's so hard when you read some of these things. But right? There's the man we have the faith in. I would love to know where we are in the process of appointing a new police commissioner. And I'm pretty sure at this point, at the rate Gary Griffith going with the NTA, National Transformation Alliance, I have that right this time? I'm pretty sure that he done that. He his application in, but it's clear that somebody didn't want Gary back there. I don't know, and I didn't hear only if Gary get back, but just saying that somebody don't want Gary back in because the articles every time Gary tries to rise up, right? And I don't know if this is, if it is what I want to say, like if it needs to be that way or if it's necessary for this to be done. Or if he bringing this on himself is what I'm trying to say. But every time he make a move, articles come out about him in a big way. So last week I was talking about Errol Fabian and young Nikolai Edwards and all these things. And an article, as soon as that come out, the article come out, August 20th, by guess who? Denise Wren, his favorite person, right? His favorite reporter. A former member of the Police Service Commission was granted a total of 7 firearms, while his spouse got 3, making it 10 firearms in one household. This was cited among several concerns in the firearms use in the FUL audit report, which looked at the functions and operations of the firearm unit within the TTPS. Gary Griffith was police commissioner from August 2018 to October 2021. The Police Service Commission is a body responsible for the recruitment of a commissioner of police, acting commissioner, and deputy commissioners. Let me take a step back, right? This was the old Blissy Prasad commission, right? That was her commission that was in place during this period, right? And the accusation in this report, keep in mind that this report has been out for a little while and in the media's hands for a little while, right? So this is what I mean about the timing of articles, right? I just pointing out the coincidence that when he does things, articles come out. Not defending him at all. But somebody within the Police Service Commission applied for firearms and was able to get 7 firearms. I mean, they get a firearm and 6 variations to carry different types of firearms. And then the wife was able to get 3. I need to understand why it is happening here. my first question, of course, as I always ask with firearms, right, is okay. So the police give up on us, right? The police not really protecting protecting us in any meaningful way, or at least helping us feel like we're protected. The government services that's supposed to give people alternatives to crime, they don't seem to be working either way. So I understand the need for an individual to feel like I need to take my protection in my own hands, right? And if people come in here with firearms, I want to have a firearm too to answer back or take preemptive action should anything happen to me or my family, right? That is reasonable. But 7 firearms, you're 2-hand, right? So I try to understand, like, what kind of scenario could lead to you needing 7 firearms and your wife needing 3? What kind of shootout it is you planning for? Like, what are you protecting so? Is it that you have a firearm for every, like you have about 3 vehicles, so you need 1 in each car, just in case you forget, because that's what I used to do with the masking. I always forget my mask home. So what I started doing now, I started leave mask in my car, Lisa mask in Stacy car, Lisa mask home, Lisa mask in the office. And then when I wear jeans and I ain't wash it, I push 2 masks in the back pocket, just in case I reach anywhere without mask and I was going to be buying new mask, right? So maybe that's the way a firearm is work too. Like you need 1 for each one of your vehicles, each one of your offices. You know what I mean? If you go in the office now, if you have 3 stories, you're going to need 1 for every story just in case. Suppose you go up on the 3rd floor and you gun on the 1st floor, the man comes to rob you, you're going to need a gun there. And 1 to carry on you at all times, just in case. And in case that done, you have 6 more where you answer back. I was watching my show, boy. My show come to an end and my show Better Call Saul. No spoilers, right? But the Better Call Saul is a very good ending to our series, but it's a sad ending, boy. They end it in a sad way, which was probably fitting, right? But they have a point in Better Call Saul when Mike was going to buy firearms. Of course, he buying black market firearms, right? And when Mike going to buy firearms, the fellow was telling him about a revolver that have 6. He says about 6 shots. Or was that Walt going to buy that? One of them. And he was telling him, listen, yeah, this has 6 shots. He say if you need more than 6 shots, then you enter pray and spray, and that ain't gonna help you. Them thing ain't gonna help you. So it's like, what do you need 7 firearms for? And I'm sure with those 7 firearms, let me say each one of them firearms carrying 15 rounds. Or you have shotguns carrying 2. Like, what allotment you have for ammunition to go with these firearms? And your wife need 3. Notice he gave your wife less. That's smart, man. And you know, this house, I don't know if that will work in this house at all, no, because at that time I was living in South. I hear, man, like it sounds like if somebody kicking in the door. Your worst nightmare is sleeping and you hear bang like somebody kicking in the door. So I looking to head downstairs now to see what is happening now. Of course, my 2 hands swinging, and I still feel I could cuff it out, right? I know it's a false sense of reality, but I still feel I could cuff it out with somebody, even if they have a gun. I'm still frightened with the gun thing a little bit, right? So I come downstairs now to confront this thief and get him out my place. When I watch behind me Stacy coming with her butter knife, he's in car. I said, you go upstairs now. She pregnant. And I said, you go upstairs. Wait till we come this butter knife. What is you going to do? So I don't know if that will work in this household now because 3 firearm. What is Stacy going to do? She's so coward. She's going to hide underneath them firearm and see if you could block your face with the tree. I don't know. That's a lot of guns. Here the next line in this report, right? The couple obtained their FULs within hours of applying, the audit report saying. Anybody here ever apply for a firearm? I have a few listeners who are loyal listeners to this podcast who are FUL holders. Right? I always talk about this. I ain't going to call no names and things. I don't want to put nobody out there. Right? But a few of them have variations and so on, multiple firearms. And you know what I mean? I understand. Like the more I talk to people who are FUL holders or firearm carriers, is the more I understand the need for it. I also feel very inferior when I talk in my gangster talk among men who holding their firearm, because I be talking like if nobody can do me nothing. And in fact, I probably go and get beat up. I on 1 foot. You know what I mean? What I could really do. But even with, as I said, justification given for securing your own premises, your own family, yourself, your property, your money, whatsoever the things might be, right? You're securing what needs to be secured, and you have a firearm for that. How long it take you all to get yours? I'm talking about the people who get their own above board and below board, right? However you get yours, I don't know the backstory. But however you got your FUL, I want only to tell me how long it take you after you apply to get it. I included in that people who wanted to get air rifle and thing. I did not even know that you had to apply to get pepper spray and mace and these things. This is news to me. So if you had to apply for all these things, did you all get your own within hours of applying? Because my experience is different. It takes hours just to fill out the forms. So is it proper? Does it pass the smell test? Does it look good? Or what's the situation? When the people who have the final say over your employment, who's the Police Service Commission, could go and apply for firearms and get it within hours. This is where I always look at the both sides of the thing. Somebody tell me the other day, I just be talking to myself here, arguing both sides of the point, but it's be true. So granted that, let's assume that the police commissioner or the people who are, I don't want to say commissioner or police, the people responsible for issuing firearms within the police service, probably not the commissioner who had to do that, right? Take them out of the equation for a minute. If I am on the Police Service Commission and I need to apply for a firearm, you see, whoever they paying me to be on that, my little stipend, my salary, my board, whatever the thing is that you're supposed to collect, I like that little dust every month when it coming in, right? So I will be very wary of that. Additionally, you see my name, I like it a lot. You know what I mean? It's long enough and it's ring. I don't want to be in a position where anybody could call me and tell me I take this from them and I take bribe. I don't like them thing, boy. Not saying that me and no saint, far from that. But you see that in particular does make me uneasy. Does make me uncomfortable. The fact that I have somebody out there who could call my name and say, "Boy, you hungry? I give you a little thing. A man tell me a time." This is marking papers and doing, when you lecture, you usually have to mark some papers for people for their courses, right? I'm going to talk carefully. Let me slow down to make sure I protect people here. And when they submit these things, so this could make or break your degree. Additionally, I used to supervise people's thesis. So you write your thesis, you think, I give some feedback, I tell you, all right, well, this had to change, your references are the thing, you think this had to update, this not congruent, you over the word limit. It takes a lot of time to go through people think and that. Now, if you're doing a master's, you're not passing until you submit that thesis or practicum or whatever the thing might be. If you're doing a course, you're not passing until you pass that coursework. Remember that while I like lecturing a lot, right? So I consider it a pretty cool job and I enjoy doing it, and I would probably do it for free if you give me the chance, which I'm doing here every week, right? But to somebody who in the program doing it, you might have a man who that degree is what he waiting on to get a promotion or to get an increase in his job. You understand where I'm coming from? So there are consequences to it. And I remember, this is more than once I faced this. I remember a man called me and tell me, listen, boy, you ain't want to make a 10,000, boy. You ain't want to just do this thing for me, boy. Just do this thing and submit it. And I was like, brother, to tell you the truth, if I do this for you, I go fail. You know my work I had to do to get back to the point where I could write a thesis. And I always find a way to protect the relationship, but get out of them situations. Again, I don't want to embarrass nobody. I ain't here to call out nobody. And I ain't here to play more pious than Paul or whatever you say in this go. But I'm not doing that, because when you do that now, you give me a 10,000. I submitted thesis and you pass. Well, I hope you pass. But I submitted thesis and you pass. You then, I find like you have something on me for the rest of your life. And you could then be watching and say, well, this man hungry. A little hungry, 10 grand I get this man. I don't like them types of things. I had students who offer me all kind of things to write the little paper, in-course paper. And I said, boy, I'm not doing it. And the point I'm making is this. If I sit on the Police Service Commission, I would be astutely aware of the type of power that holds and what that board means to society. And because I'm aware of that, there is no way I am going to apply for a firearm and take it in an hour. Never, not me. I'm not playing them kind of games, because even if it was done properly, that's not going to look good. That's going to be improper. And the article goes on to say that the people not named. I wish they had named the people, because this is, why would you do this? If I go and get 7 firearms, I suppose it within the law to get 7 firearms. But what I'm sure about is that for you to get it within hours of applying, it means that you circumvent the process and you jump plenty people in the line, because the average person will tell you it will take some years. Anyway, the 17-page executive summary, which is expected to be laid in Parliament, noted that a former member of the Police Service Commission was granted a FUL on July 5th, 2019. Thereafter, the former member was granted a total of 6 additional firearms by variation on the 12th of June 2020. While the spouse was granted an FUL in July 2019, then granted 2 additional variations in March 2021. Does not mention the name, however, the reports detailed 58 pages and identify the former member as well as the ongoings within the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service under leadership of Griffith. So these articles tend to want to point at Gary Griffith as the thing. And I suppose if you are the commissioner of police and these things going on under your purview, then we're going to have an issue, right? Again, somewhere, right? Stay with me. The names of 5 firearm dealers who have been favored in being granted permits to import large quantities of firearms and ammunition, as well as component parts and accessories for high-powered assault rifles, were identified as troubling. So I guess I go make an assumption here. When they say things like that in these reports and they're talking about it troubling, they're saying that the 5 people who he give might be 5 people who, if the public was to find out about these things, they might be concerned. That might mean his friends, family, and so on, or people who, you know what I mean, who are influenced of his career, or people who it is in his best interest to give them licenses. This is my assumption, right? That's not in the article. But here the part what I like, right? A comparison chart showed prior to Griffith's tenure, previous commissioners approved the importation of between 400 and 700 firearms within a 3-year time frame. So in other words, when I average out how much the other commissioners of police issued in terms of firearms, over 3 years, they issue about 400 to 700. Let me use the upper bound of the average, right? So this is 700 over 3 years, right? How much is that? 2 something a year? However, when Griffith was at the helm, this catapulted to over 147,000. 140, I'm talking about from 700. So 700 over 3 years. It's 147,000 over 3 years. So again, 200 and something a year to about 50,000 a year. No. So again, these things point at Gary Griffith as the issue, right? And it was like I'm going back to where they were asking Lasana last week. I was telling you last week, if you didn't listen last week, Lasana Live was doing an interview with BBC, and they asked him about whether Jack Warner was the problem, and he said no, the institution is the problem, and it creates an opportunity for people like Jack Warner to do things like this, right? Well, I would like to say the same thing about this. Whether you want to believe that Gary Griffith is the problem or not, an institution that allows people to do anything like this is the issue. And we refuse to address the real issues because we like personality wars. So it's convenient to blame Griffith or blame Jacob or blame this one or blame that one. And while we do that, the 5 years has passed, or 5-year junctions has passed, and new people has come and new people has gone. We continue to point fingers at these people and blame, say this one do this and this one do that. And nobody is willing to say, well, all right, here we're going on. You see, the institution itself, we need to address it. Because maybe men not so trustworthy. Because I could come here and talk about, beat my chest and say, well, me taking no money to do no thesis for nobody and them kind of thing. But there might well be other areas in my life where it could get dark fast and a check could run through. Nobody gonna come out and tout the corrupt ways, but I want to tell you that all of us have good corrupt ways in we, right? So why not set up institutions to protect ourselves from ourselves? You know what I mean? Address the institution. This thing went from 2 something a year to 50,000 a year. And you telling me it's taking a year and something after Gary Griffith done leave to get these things to the fore? No. Okay, so within the institution, right? When I see man who just sign off these things, right? So I had to sign up the paper and thing, and I see how much application there under Stephen Williams and backlog and them kind of thing. And Gary say I'm going to clear up the backlog, right? And I have man accustomed signing about 200 and something of them thing a year and send to the commissioner, right? If I send in 200 and something a year to the commissioner, and then one day I come to work and it's at 200 and something for me to sign that day, why wouldn't you raise an issue that day? You might say, but wait, hold on. There's a lot. How come it's so much today? Because I'm just signing 200 for the year, you know. I mean, I signing I sign about 4 every week, you know what I mean? And I done work. This week I had to sign a whole bunch where I'm signing 4 a week. Let me get the exact numbers, eh? This week I end up signing 35 to get to 50,000. And nobody say that. You ain't say nothing this week, next week, the week after that, the week after that. When you see it, because you could have said in the first 2 weeks, nah, man, something was wrong, you know, and Gary clearing a backlog. For a whole 3-year period, you went at a rate of thousands of percentage points higher than what you would usually go at. And nobody in race. It's like a whole thing to go through, and then a commissioner inquiry to come back to say what happened in this case, and then to tell we that man and their wife get 10 firearm. Why don't tell me who's these things? Suppose I, in my wild days, went around this man's wife. These things should be made public. There's 7 set of gunshots I had to get from 7 different type of. Why we had to be doing this? At the rate of 50,000 firearms issued a year, it would take 24 years to get the whole of Trinidad and Tobago, man, woman, and child. Man, if Gary Griffith was commissioner of police for 24 years, everybody could have had at least one firearm. Down to the newborn, to the person who on the deathbed, to have a firearm for everybody in 24 years. Nobody didn't find this strange at the time, but all of a sudden now we have articles coming out to point out how egregious this thing is, so nobody don't check nothing. In the simplest of circumstances, you go in a school, a teacher checking your work every day and there's licks. But in these circumstances, maybe these people in positions that's so important to the rest of the country, it is impossible that Gary Griffith was the only person who know that somebody in the police service commission apply for a thing, and it's an hour they say. You know? But again, we have a tendency to not really say nothing if it don't affect us and it's not our business. We just turn on that. And worse again, if I also get benefiting from this in some kind of way, you know what I mean? My firearm running and I could push through my thing too, then we well willing to accept it. But all right, that again is another story that gonna continue to develop, you know, because while the crime situation continues to rise, and people seem to think as well that people seem to think that we will be comfortable living in a society where people could get killed anytime, but once I have my firearm, it ain't gonna be me. And I just want to show you again how selfish we are as a people. This whole FUL thing is a very Trinidadian thing and a very selfish mentality, because we seem less concerned with living in a country where we could not have to worry about crime and criminality and them types of things, and everybody lives a standard where they're comfortable, and gang warfare is less of a thing. But that's too hard. Just give me a gun so I could blast them when they come home by me. Like, I'm following a girl on Instagram called Books of Sins. I've been following her for some time, right? She's always recommend books and stuff. Her nice little page. Seems to be Jamaican, but she live in Trinidad for some time, and she on a trip around the world, or Europe. I think it's 109 days. And I always look at her in these places, right? She go in little small towns in Europe and stuff. Sorry, you're doing the comparison thing of Trinidad to first world countries again. Right? I understand all the reasons why I shouldn't do that, but she's going to all these places, and I'm looking at the state of the places that she goes to. They're clean. You know what I mean? She walking around with this camera in her hand. I don't know if you could be a vid blogger in town. Now you could go and vid blog and walk around with your phone. Hi guys, 109 days, day 100. Now I'm in Woodford Square. Listen, that you don't want to play the fool. Hi guys, now I'm on Duncan Street. Hi guys, I'm George Street. Would not be advised, right? Not for the faint of heart. But I look at her and I'm envious of these places. I'm envious of these places where we could live a life where it's not going to feel necessary. For me, for instance, I'm not comfortable carrying a firearm. I might because of the situation in Trinidad now, but I'd much rather be in a place where that is not necessary, because you don't have a spate of killings and housebreaking and gang warfare and shooting. I'd much rather that. But it's just who we are as a society. So I started this podcast by saying I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about crime. And then I end up talking about crime. Now, I want to go back to that story from last week. I remember when I told her this Stacey carried me to get to Walmart last week. I really find when I was in that ghetto Walmart, the crowd was unbecoming. I didn't like the crowd. I didn't feel comfortable touching. Like I was feeling the monkeypox in the air. My skin started to scratch. I tell myself I'll have it soaking for sure. Now, what I didn't talk about last week because it was too soon was the fact that as soon as we came back from the city of Miami in the country of the US of a certain Stacy Shepherd Bab, formerly Stacy Villarreal, came down with the COVID-19 virus. Oh no, I can't clap that. Sorry. I say, oh, I need a drop that says, oh man. Came down with the COVID-19 virus, right? And I just want to say that I am pretty sure that COVID was contracted in the ghetto Walmart. You like Walmart, you like cheap stationery, you like a whole set of deodorant by the pound, a whole set of face soap. You like all them kind of cheap, they go in the cheap Walmart and you get to thing and you go in and pick up COVID. So we having an ordeal. This is a real geriatric family now. I tell myself I married a young thing back in the day. But clearly that is not the case because she was out with COVID. I had one foot. And it's been a journey. And just like what would happen with me before, she going through the paces of extreme fatigue after you finish with COVID. You know what I mean? I don't know if you all had that when you get COVID. Is there anybody here who didn't get COVID yet? But if when you get COVID, if you didn't get it yet, you go through a lot of fatigue when you're done with that thing, but it's be exhausted. Every little thing you do, you're tired. And my good friend and his wife, salute to Jade and Kerry Brown. Like, them can't get enough for each other. It's the greatest married couple I've ever come across. Because when I get married, I was done at that. You know what I mean? As soon, they say people is change after they get married. Well, I change like hell. Because since I get married, I pop my foot, me ain't doing nothing again. I go and drop about 25 pounds, you know what I mean? But Jade and Kerry is the greatest married couple they ever had. Because beside having a wedding, these people had a post-wedding fete. They enjoy the married life so much. That is a whole post-wedding party. These people, listen, I live in the greatest area of all time. And you see in this little community here is vibes. So some time ago, he told me he was doing this. And I trying to tell him, boy, why you doing this? You done get married already. You going to have a next party now and jump all that money. But I was glad that he did it because I had a good little time. Now, keep in mind that leading up to this event, I have a lot of planning to do as to how I'm going to manage my foot in this party. Because I know that I'm a very sensible person pre-liquors, right? But post-liquors, I'm not the smartest person they ever had. So I tell myself, boy, I want to come Jade thing now on my foot in a slipper. It's months now wearing slipper, you know. By the way, this is the first day since the 22nd of March when I ruptured my Achilles that I exercise. I was able to exercise and get 45 minutes of exercise, and I proud of my damn self. It was good. I survived it. So but when we got to put on shoes is a little painful because the back of the shoe is hit the back of the Achilles and all that, right? I ain't want to bore you with all that. But that's the situation. So I'm mindful of this damn thing, man. I say, but how am I gonna go in this party, boy? I say I will try and put on a shoe. You know what I mean? Put on a socks and a shoe, it padded enough and I go on. Boy, listen, I tried that shoe. From the time my foot started going that shoe, I realized it's all hell break loose. So I say, all right, well, slippers it is. I put on some Birkenstocks and I go on up the road with my young wife, you know what I mean? My young and fresh. My prize, my trophy. And I say, well, all right, here we're going on. I couldn't do as much as I could do. And I have a neighbor, so my neighbor Zola too, who going through the same procedure I am. His own rupture about a week or two after mine, sadly. So I know I was seeing this. I know messaging him to tell him, boy, here we're going on. He living close to where the Fed keeping. And so I say, well, here we're going on. We're going to the gallery by you, you know. I would just bring a bottle and we can knock 2 glasses there. By the time I message you and tell you that when I go on there, he in the Fed. So now I'm feeling bad. I can't leave. I mean, the man, he much earlier in the recovery stage than me. I walk in, he's still on crutches. So I say, all right, I'm going in this Fed and I'm going to have a nice time. Well, boy, when we walk in the Fed, we Fed in full swing. I didn't realize the Fed was an early Fed. So I come in late and the Fed in full swing. So I had to catch up now. So I had David Rudder in them out. When I go in, I had David Rudder it out and hope for the best there. And when song play, I trying my best, but the DJ bad to her, so I in the mood. And when I look good, I see Stacy, she ain't looking herself. She ain't looking, you know what I mean? Everybody around, we know all the neighbors and things, but she ain't looking like herself, man. I say, what I'm doing? She said, my heart palpitating. I feel like, man, I said, but like, I live in the 5th ward. I don't know what is going on in this household, but it's not good. I can tell you that we didn't last very long in the party at all. I tell myself, I go drink out Jade and eat him out. But no such luck. We didn't last long at all. If we last an hour there, we last plenty because I started drink and started dance and feeling good. And when she said he had started palpitate, I said, well, all right, well, I walk you home, you know what I mean? And when I walk her home, I just take off my clothes and lie down. Yes, I said, I said, me and walking back up that road, just to walk up the street feeling like miles I walking, and that was the end of that. And that is a post wedding. I don't even know what it's called that. I asked Jade what it's called that. It's just a wedding, a second wedding party. 9 nights. I don't know what you're supposed to call it. But I'm saying all that to say that I have tickets for a party by the name of Veil Vibe. And I was recently offered tickets for a fete by the name of Soca. These are some of my favorite events. Now, I was wise and I was prudent and I refused the Soca tickets because I say beyond standing up for 3-4 hours and drinking, and in a crowd of people there, if somebody kicked the back of my foot, all hell could break loose. But also, it's a wet fete. And I can't really get that part of my foot wet yet. So I say, all right, well, listen, that was an easy thing to say no to. But the Veil now, Veil have a crowd too, but Veil big enough in a big place in Santa Cruz where you could pull one side, you know what I mean? You don't want to be in the thick of the crowd. So I say, well, all right, I ain't going to get kicked in the back of my foot. I should be okay here. But to tell you the truth, when they asked me about Veil Vibe, it sounds so far away. End of August. I said, well, by then I'm running and playing football again. So I ain't even me and know I go be in the same situation when that time comes. So I'm trying to figure out now what I feel like exercise for this morning is because I'm trying to see if I could get my foot in shape to be able to go and start up in the Veil Vibe. I wouldn't like to miss it, you know. I wouldn't like to miss it. But I think in wisdom, judging from Jade 9 Nights wedding fete, I'm not sure how long I'm going to be able to last up in the Veil Vibe. Well, I feel I should try it. This is like my my precursor to what next year carnival is supposed to be. It's the only thing I'm going for this new summer carnival. I don't know what it's called this little period here. And Veil is now you're going to see plenty of people you know one thing in Veil, but boy, it could be rough. Or should I do the old people thing and go Veil with a beach chair just in case? And I need to 2 beach chair, one to sit down and one to elevate my foot. I ain't sure if I'm ready for that kind of embarrassment. You know? And I putting it out here now that if I had to go Veil in a slipper, I ain't going. Let me save my last little shred of dignity and pride. I don't think I could go Veil in a slipper, but we gonna make every effort. What else happened this week? Hey, I have something I wanted to point out. Listen, I don't like to come here and talk work things, you know, but I would like to salute my team in the office, my site up team, for putting on what was a great event on Thursday. Now, the event was in Cipriani Labour College. Salute the folks at Cipriani Labour College. That's a great place to have thing. It's cold like hell, but it's a great venue. Because we had a house of about 200 and something people for a little staff competition type thing. So look, my boy Colin Bartholomew, I went there and I really forget that Colin working there. But Colin only doing a good job in the Cipriani Labour College. And it's only when I got there, because that's another one I navigate this event. That was pretty much my first full working day since this injury, right? And I decided even though I could walk in without the boots, of course, I didn't want to go in slippers and I can't wear shoes. So I say, you know what, my best bet is to put on the boots and have a full day of walking and up and down and talking and, you know what I mean? So I say, it's better I put on the boots and safeguard my foot for the time. But we had all this staff come together, about 200 and something people, and those girls do what I call gondola wars, right? If you don't know, our company does merchandising services. So if you have a product in the grocery and you need your product merchandise, you can check we. We go get it on the shelf here and get rotated and make sure that the things don't expire on the shelf and them things. And if you have a very big company like Coca-Cola and Unilever and Carib and Amco and so on, you could outsource your merchandising team to us. So we will manage the merchandisers and make sure that your team is out in the field protecting your brand and making sure that you're looking good in the streets and you're getting your sales and your products not expiring on your hands, right? So that's what I do for a living, basically. So because of that, we have some pretty big teams of people who work as merchandisers, and it was our first time with COVID and everything. You underestimate how long it was before you get together with people, because it's the first time really having everybody together like that. Some people choose to wear masks, some didn't. I didn't wear a mask, and everybody come together, and they had a really good time. Just, I think, being around one another, seeing each other in person for the first time. Because if you think about it, all them working in different groceries, while it's a team, right? They might have a team of 80 people, but they're working in groceries all over the country. They may not see one another very often at all. And you know, COVID had a way where, as it dissipates, or the ability to gather come back slightly. We gathered for the work things a lot. So if you had to have a meeting or you had to have things on one-on-ones and group sessions and so on, those things came together. But the recreational activity in the corporate space, I don't know how it is by you, but that might take a little more time to get together. But salute to the team, Avian and Kern and Ophelia and these folks who put together a great event. The event was basically they put them into teams and they had them do a theme for gondola is like the shelf in the grocery, right? So they do themes for the gondolas and they call it gondola wars. I like the idea a lot. It copyrighted and patented, so they don't want to thief my thing if they go and talk to thing and they go and talk to some competitor and next thing we thing gone. But it was nice just to see beyond the there's a lot of things we could do differently and do better as with every event. But boy, listen, just seeing the group of people come together like that and be able to know the co-workers and the team, many of them I would have met for the first time. And some of them who've been working with us for, must be close to 10 years now, that I get to see for the first time in a long time. And that is an odd thing. Because I realized it's taken my brain a little time to process that there have people who I met and talked to many times on Zoom or on phone and them kind of thing. And in meeting them is when you know you're officially old. Because I just not used to this thing like youths who meet one another online and become great friends. And the friendship transfers to physical friendships. Because, to tell you the truth, I remember going out a little lime once. And a fellow who I follow on social media, I don't know the fellow from nowhere, I don't know what make him. I think it's Sean Selling is the fellow name. He's a real estate guy, I believe. And that's happened, I like his page and I follow him on Instagram. And I suppose he had followed me back too. And I see him one time. And he come and hail me out and I was so weird. I was like, hey, you know me? And to tell you the truth, if I follow you on Instagram and I don't know you, I never meet you, I pass you straight in the street. I don't know. Not that I'm being snobby or nothing like that. I just don't know what's the protocol. I don't understand these things. So it's taken me a while to understand. Okay, well, if I know you online, do I know you offline as well? Is this a real thing? Unless we had some kind of conversations online, but there's no way I have somebody I following on Instagram. I just go and hail out. We're supposed to say, hey, yes, follow you on Instagram, man. Maybe I'll try starting to say that. You know what I mean? I follow you on Instagram, I like your page and something like that. Whereas these people having full-on relationships and marriages and so on online. But as an old man, I don't know if I'm able to do it. All right, we have some stories to get to now. It's about real thing and we talk about these stories of the day. Going to the news today from Clint Chantak. Claxton-based scrap iron workers warn, if we can't eat, no one can. Hey, this is paradise we live in. We live in paradise. Scrap iron workers in Claxton Bay accuse the government, opposition, and the Scrap Iron Dealers Association of doing nothing to help them with scrap iron exports being banned for 6 months. So if you wasn't following up on this, the doctor say no more scrap iron exports. He says it's getting too ridiculous. Like, it's the same thing with this. And this is just like changing the police uniforms. Because when exactly did the government realize this was getting out of hand? We've been talking about this for so long. And boy, I don't know, boy. This is the most reactive place to have it. It takes me back to that junction on the bus route where everybody getting in accidents all the time. And when your name's Rowan Sinanan was the man, went there and check it out and said, all right, looking good to me. You know what I mean? Like, put 2 hump here. And then the hump started to cause more problem. He come and say, Trinidad discipline. So we started to take the hump wide. So nobody couldn't come together and say, well, all right. The hump might be a good idea, but if we do any hump, we could do the hump straight across the road on both sides. So that will slow down the traffic so you can't go around the hump or find some other ideas. We seem to think that, hey, these people need to learn to drive better and more people end up down in a drain. And it's the same thing with the scrap iron thing. We see this, everybody was seeing, according to my boy Pablo, Ray Charles could see that the scrap iron thing was getting out of hand and they was thieving everything they could thief. And everybody knew that it was a US dollar game and they're getting exports for it, probably through illegal exports. I know, I'm pretty sure it's illegal channels that these things going out on. Check these scrap iron men and find out how much of them have a little boat and a little thing with shipping this and you check it out. But they ban it now, right? And now that they ban it, the people in the industry, they vex. So they say as such, they've issued a warning. A spokesperson for the group who blocked Temple Street, Claxton Bay with tree branches, tires, and scrap iron, which you should export and make some money, called on Prime Minister to address their plight. Oh, they can't export it, so that they use to block the road. That's genius. Devon Hayes said that if this is not done, workers will intensify their protest. We'll have to carry it further and more devious. If we can't eat, then none of all you can't eat. That is the attitude, Devon. Remember we talked about the fact that they find like brand new TNTech poles in one of these men's scrapyard. So nobody acknowledging the fact that this whole industry was on lull. The workers are speaking after a meeting with the MSJ. Oh, a political thing. Who knew David Abdullah, the MSJ? It must have a political party involved now. Daniel Joseph said, I've been working in scrap iron for at least 8 years of my life. Joseph has 4 children and doesn't know how we can afford to buy school books for them now. People have rent to pay. The landlord doesn't want to know in the next 6 months. They want us out the place. Yeah, Devon, that's the way that's work. Or Daniel. Looking at other people around him, Joseph said the industry employs many young people. The devil find work for idle hands. We are no criminals. We are coming out here to try and get an honest, to try and get back out there and work hard. This is our way of life. This is what we know about. Hungry people is angry people. He slammed the points up here, MP David Lee, for not helping them. He ain't reached here yet. Driving a $2.5 million vehicle. What? What David Lee driving? And we hungry out here and he can't reach here yet. Lee was questioned by police in relation to... Oh, he is driving a $2.5 million vehicle. Lee was questioned by police last week to the purchase of a Mercedes-Benz valued at $2.3 million, which attracted a $1.4 million tax exemption. Oh, he didn't pay that. Okay, I got you. It was allegedly, all right, cool. So the scrap iron dealers are upset. And this seems to be a new thing in the country because the country have no stability. No, what Uncle used to say is lawlessness prevails, you know what I mean? So the scrap iron dealers basically saying if all you ban we and we can't continue to thief, we think and sell, we're going to make life hard for everybody in this country. Coincidentally, I heard the unions who have such an important role to play in this country. The unions coming out and saying now that, hey, if all you don't change this thing to 4%, these workers we representing, they getting angry, you know, and the ground could swell up and the place, the crime could increase. And I think, boy, this is where we want to approach this. But again, once you leave the place for lawlessness to prevail, these is the kind of things could happen. And I'm not taking these threats lightly either. Because if these people can't find a way to thief the thing and sell over the next 6 months, they go find some. But lawlessness prevail. Going in the Express today, Massey Stores Gulfview hit before daybreak by bandits. This is on Monday, August 22nd. Gulfview Laramie branch of Massey was robbed of cash on Monday morning. A manager arrived at the store around 5 a.m. and was approached by 2 men, one armed with a gun. Illegal, I'm sure. They took into a room where undisclosed sum of money was taken according to a police report. The men tied up the manager and escaped. Officers from the San Fernando Criminal Investigations Department are trying to identify the suspect. I wonder what these CID officers are wearing. I wonder if the CID officers wearing polymer uniforms. I don't know. Maybe that will help them identify it. McDonald, get them in some of them polymer uniforms. But this is I'm not sure if people are looking at this, right? This is a worrying trend. Robbing a shop is something that we see all the time. Not a condoning that, but that's something we've seen, or a parlor, or a small grocery. Like there were a few groceries on the main road in Chagona, say we're going to them Chinese grocery, looking like robbery about to go down. And I'd be worried when I go in them thing, I what? My head on a swivel. I frightened because anything could happen in them thing. Now we're talking about Massey Stores, who's a very big operation, a very big store, very, very visible in big compounds. You understand? When people taking these kind of risks, we're going down a road here where things could get more and more dicey. You know, they're done dicey already. But this is not a good sign. You understand? We're seeing more and more over the last 2-3 years where it's a bank robbery. A Massey. This is not the first Massey Stores to get robbed. Another Massey Stores was robbed earlier this year, if I'm not mistaken. This type of brazen crime is something that only a change in police uniforms could help that. You know what I mean? Police uniforms is the only way to help that. If you get them fellas dressed up in some polymers, all that could be a wrap soon. But on a serious note, it's something that we had to take note of, and we had to be mindful and be very, very careful, because these things, you're not going to be able to escape it. You're securing your home, you're trying to protect your family and them things, and you could be going Massey first thing in the morning. Massey Gulfview is a store that I would go to on a regular basis. Remember the type of work I tell you that I do as well. We have at least 2 or 3 employees who work in Massey Stores in Gulfview. We've had incidents before where stores were robbed, where our staff was in the stores. These things that is not a nice thing, right? To put it mildly. But when you see criminals willing to go to this extent, you have an issue. And then you have, let me say, law-abiding citizens, right? Like scrap iron dealers and people who are represented by these unions. Law-abiding citizens making threats to say, if we can't continue to get our way, or if we can't get some kind of improvement or get what we want, we're willing to step out there, you know what I mean? We could be willing to make everybody else uncomfortable. Or if I can't eat, nobody else can eat. That is the man words. Let me don't say it's attached to crime. It certainly sounds so to me. But that is something that we all have to be mindful of as a society. Because I always find crime... one of the things I always say about crime, right? One of the first things you have to do in crime prevention or managing something as bad as crime in a country, I would think one of the most important things to you is to make sure that you don't add to the cadre of criminals. Let me say that this country have 5% people who are hardened criminals, who doing crimes where they have causing havoc in society. You don't just have to work on the 5 and capturing the 5 and locking them up and getting rid of them and all those types of things. You also have to make sure that the 5 don't turn into 7 and 8 and 9 and 10. Because then you're going to end up with a problem on your hands that you can't control, and you have no police force who going to make up 40% of the society is police. That ain't happening, right? So you always have to manage, okay, what level of crime do we have in the country among the criminals, but also how do we contain it? How do we make sure that the 5% of people willing to take crime on as a career could go down to 4 and 3.5 and 3? And that is one of the ways to make the society more peaceful as well. But when you're hearing the innocent or the people who are law-abiding frustrated and making threats, we're not heading in a good direction. So these scrap iron people start to block the road. The UNC and everybody and all the unions join up with them, of course, because once it's anti-government, then it's useful for anybody who is in opposition. And they seem to be planning motorcade and so on. Now, going to the Guardian now, support for scrap iron motorcade growing. UNC and unions 13. This is by Gail Alexander in the Guardian, right? Scrap Iron Dealers Association, CEDA, is aiming for a significant turnout in the association's planned motorcade from south to north on Wednesday to protest government's 6-month ban on scrap metal exports. So by the time this out, it will be going on. Already, United National Congress said it will be part of the motorcade. You know, I was making a joke at the beginning of this episode about monkeypox, right? Which I see the first episode of monkeypox in Guyana. At some point, monkeypox will reach here and we got to manage the outbreak. I want you to look forward to UNC coming out and saying the government bring monkeypox here and they do a terrible job of managing it and it's them fault and so on and all the pox and them red and all these things, right? That it coming. This was confirmed by UNC's David Nackett. So already the UNC says they will be part of the motorcade and it was confirmed by David Nackett here who said, we are in every legitimate... Wow. You see, now I appreciate David Nackett honesty. maybe I'm back on the UNC side again. Because I was going to say that the UNC just basically joining anything that seemed to be against the government. But they would never admit it. But here comes David Nackett. David Nackett said, we are in every legitimate protest against this uncaring Rowley-led government, including this one. So listen, anytime you ain't getting what you want, right? And you can't find people to support your cause, just start to protest and say the government terrible and Rowley bad and he wicked and he don't care. And you know what I mean? Just say them things and you're going to get thousands of yellow shirts coming behind you. The trade union movement is also expected to support. I love it. No, you know, my memory ain't so great, but I'm pretty sure that the UNC was coming out and saying the government ain't doing nothing about these scrap iron dealers and this and that. I'm pretty sure. I don't have the time to go back and look for it now, but I could bet my life. If I look, I'll find the UNC saying, all they think are these scrap iron dealers and they're just cutting things and they're doing what they want and this government thing and they're ineffective and time for them to step down. And now they join these scrap iron dealers when they were bad. Okay. The government says this shutdown was necessary following the continuous vandalism of state assets, damaging water and cable lines, affecting citizens and causing over $22 million in repairs. National Security Minister Fitzgerald Hines. Who? National Security Minister Fitzgerald Hines said malicious attacks are part of a larger plot which may need the Anti-Terrorism Act to prosecute the band. Malicious attacks. What is the malicious attacks he talking about here? I'm so confused. National Security Minister Fitzgerald Hines said malicious attacks are part of a larger plot which may need the Anti-Terrorism Act to prosecute, and the ban was needed to end a criminal enterprise where millions in stolen assets are being sold for scrap. Law is being drafted to regulate the sector. I trying my best to understand this. Is he saying that there's some kind of terrorism associated with or he basically said what they're terrorizing people by stealing these scrap iron fits? Because I'm not sure where the Anti-Terrorism Act come into this. Or maybe I have the wrong definition of what terrorism is. Because they're really terrorizing you. In Trinidad here, when we say you're terrorizing people, my grandmother used to say, you like to terrorize people, you to torture us. Maybe that's what he mean, like the terrorizing people to take anything. Because when you say anti-terrorism, I think in terrorist groups and so on who do it, you know what I mean? That's what I mean. Yesterday, scrap iron dealers President Alan Ferguson. How much a president didn't just have someone named Vernon in the last article? Alan Ferguson said the association applied for police permission for the motorcade last week. We're hoping to receive approval by Tuesday. All you had this thing approved yet and UNC done join. Particularly since the efforts bring unity to the poor and needy because of, for too long, governments come, governments go. Hey, I ain't lying. To be poor is a crime. Listen, anytime you're seeing any kind of poverty in life, try and find a way out of that. Because let me tell you something, that is the default of people here. You know? People have their own selfish motives. You just want to scrap your cell. All you want to do is scrap your cell iron. You just want to sell your scrap iron so you could get a 2.5 vehicle like how you name. But you trying to be poor and the needy. What the poor need? All right, okay. The motorcade is scheduled for 9 a.m. from Brian Lara Stadium in Marabella, heading north to Solomon Hochoy Highway. Then it's planned to proceed. Hey, let me take note of this. All joke is no joke, no, because Wednesday is supposed to be on the highway. Let me stay out all your people before they cause traffic. I will make sure I head down south about 9 when all you're heading up and try and head back up when all you're heading back down. I want no part of this. It's planned to proceed to the Eastern Main Road into Port of Spain, Ryston Road, Colville Street, Queen's Park, Savannah. Ferguson assured it won't hamper highway traffic into the capital city as will be after the usual high traffic period. Fergie, what are you talking about? So, Ferguson said there are 10,000 to 20,000 people in the sector, those working at the 4 landfills, Beetham, Claxton Bay, Point Fortin, Arima, plus from others from Toko, Diego Martin, PT Valley, Port of Spain, Mova, Pinal, and Debbie. Wait, hold on. Ferguson said there are more than 10,000 to 20,000 people in the sector, those working at the 4 landfills. What do you mean? There's scoured landfills for scrap iron, I suppose? Okay. People will participate as this closure threatens the ability to feed their family. All right, Ferguson, all right. While you do all your protests, I'm glad you're doing it after the busy hours and so on. I'm glad you're getting the support of the UNC. David Naked says the ban is foolish as it will put poor working class people in that industry on the breadline. If there's corruption in the scrap iron industry, let them manage it. Yes, let the government manage it, according to David Naked. Why are you there as the government? Yes. You throw your hands up and you say that you're banning everything. We have problems in health, sports. Why would you shut that down too? You've admitted your inability to find some kind of alternative employment for people if you're going to shut it down. So you're throwing working class families into the wolves. And also throwing the population to the wolves. If some of them have said they're going to turn to crime to feed their families. Yes, Naked. Naked claimed the viable businesses are reportedly involved in that industry make the most profit and won't suffer. So government picked the low-lying fruit, the poor and working class. That's right. Anything Naked say, I agree with that by default. Now, I'm going to get out of here, right? And because I don't play Duke in the beginning of the episode, I want to play a couple Duke songs. I tell you that I'm not talk about in the news now because this is I don't know how long we could come here and talk about scrap iron people over and over and over. But the protest is Wednesday, so you will probably hear about them at least one more time. Right? Maybe after the protest, they will overturn it and we could stop talking about them, right? But I see a few things that was a little disheartening this week. I want to touch on them real quick, right? And to take them seriously as well. Because when I see a man get 10 guns and his wife get 3, and in that same week, I see an article saying joint funeral for woman and husband who killed her. I say, boy, it has some things to take from this, because if I have 7 guns and she had 3 guns and we fall out, I ain't seeing where the happy ending coming. You know what I mean? What going to happen? Better neither we have no guns, so we could argue and fight and quarrel and thing. Like, suppose we end up like Chris and Blueface, we get violent. I don't want these kind of problems, you know. But what I find about this was, this is a sad situation. I don't mean to make light of it. There was a situation in Moruga where they say a husband kill his wife and kill himself. Not a nice thing, you know what I mean? Police said he was shot with a 16-gauge shotgun. Who the husband had a 16-gauge shotgun. He's a holder of a firearm user license. Same legal firearm that Gary said none of them are ever involved in any crimes, but just this one, right? And what I find was nice about it, and it sums up the way I look at life, right? That is not a nice thing, and nobody shouldn't have to go through that, and I'm not justifying or defending that in any way. But the fact that they had a joint funeral said something about both families. It spoke to me about a certain amount of grace and forgiveness, which I like a lot, you know what I mean? I think people are people, and humans make mistakes, and while I'm not making light of this in any way, but some mistakes could even be fatal. But if we ourselves could find ways to forgive, because by any stretch of the imagination, this could cause a lot of bitterness between two families. But let me tell you something, the people is 82 and 80 years old. That means that everybody who know them, they have a lot of people who since them born these people together. They have 60-year-olds who might be born when these people together. They're together all their life. And whatever could lead to somebody who with somebody for all their life like this to take action like that, I don't know. I feel we need to pay more attention to mental health and counseling where relationships are concerned, because relationships could be passionate and that passion could go in the wrong direction sometimes. But I just find it seems like very reasonable and compassionate and forgiving people where we could do this together and we could come together and mourn, and they might have more questions than answers in these situations, like why grandpa do that and why his mommy could have do so and why this had to end. But at the end of the day, you lost two people. You lost grandpa and grandma, two matriarch and patriarch of the family, and that's going to be hurtful to a lot of people. So it just warmed my heart a little bit in such a sad story to see that people could come together and do this together and mourn together. And it means that despite what would have happened, they're still going to have a bond and a relationship. And I salute that. I salute that. I think that that's a beautiful thing to see. And you know, sometimes, okay, so assuming, and this always get harder and harder to have grace, right? This is 80 until 82. You know, if this was 20 and 22 with two people who now get together and the man do the woman this, you know, there's two families who bitterly against one another. No, well, your son killed my daughter. And I'm just saying, just maybe, with all the pain and everything that there, maybe there are ways to find compassion even in those situations that's so drastic and so dread and hurtful and painful. Maybe there's a way to find grace there as well, you know what I mean? So salute to the family of these two people. It's such a sad thing, and condolences to the community of Moruga, who I'm sure would be mourning as well. But salute to you all for coming together and doing this together. And I saw this thing. I tried to avoid all how talking about this too, but it just on my mind, boy. I was looking at this thing where they're saying this 7-year-old girl strangled to death in Palo Seco. And I don't want to get into too much of that, because I stopped a long time ago trying to end episodes on this sad note, because I understand what that does to my week and yours. But I just want to take this as a call for us to, again, pay much more attention to people's mental health. A 25-year-old woman do this and then confess to imam. Something in 100% there, something in right. And as a society, I hope, especially because we spent 2 years in a situation where anybody like myself who deal with anxiety, whatever you're dealing with, it would have been worse in the last 2 years, whatever mental issues. And if you had no mental issues, you could have found a few over the last 2 years. It was a difficult period. And I just calling on us to start with ourselves and maintain, like, pay attention to your mental health. You know what I mean? Pay attention to, like I telling Stacey, Stacey's a special person. She mother. Salute my mother, C-boy. Best mother-in-law they ever had. But she's sick. Well, no, she's not the woman don't say she's sick, right? She had COVID, she's recovered. But COVID recoveries come with a fatigue period. And I'm trying to tell a girl, you're in a situation where you could just relax. You don't work too hard, just pump your foot, relax. If you're sleepy, sleep. You don't have that stress. But she's put that stress on herself. She said, I can't understand why I just sleepy so hard. I have to shake out of this. I was like, no, you don't have to shake out of this. Be gentle with yourself. Take your time. Give yourself grace. Just like I salute the people in Moruga for giving. I'm talking to myself too. Sometimes you got to give ourselves that grace. Start by be gentle with yourself. Don't be so hard and fast. Life in black and white. Tomorrow is another day. We have to be cool and we have to take it easy sometimes, because this situation with this lady, it ain't reading right. Something not right in that whole situation, but that is a lot of pain that is inflicted on our family, our community, several families probably. And sometimes we just have to pay a little more attention to our own mental health. You know, as they say in the plane, you had make sure you get your oxygen mask before you go and try to fix anybody else's oxygen mask. You know what I mean? If you could fix their mask, if you could fix your mask before theirs, you have a better chance to save the person. So sometimes we're trying to look at other people and say, but listen, see about your own mental health, and you might find that the mental health of the people around you might get better. In other words, don't stress out the man. If you're stressing out your husband, don't stress out the man. See about your mental health so you don't have to stress nobody out. And then you might find that everything else get better around here. Grace is what we're calling for here, right? On the topic of grace, I don't know what is happening. I read in Wired 868 an article this week interviewing Mr. Pantin, who was at DirecTV and deal with these sporting things before, because we have a situation where there's no EPL to be shown either by Flow or by Digital. And the only people showing EPL is Amplio. And I don't know if it's just the name. Like, I'm not switching to Amplio. I don't like the idea of switching cable service. I kind of like Flow, but I have Digital, and I don't want to go through the process of calling Flow for them to come home here and change things, and then I remote control. And I would just work with it. But I'm kind of surprised that at this point, we didn't really find a solution for the Premier League yet. And this weekend making that even more painful because, listen, big side lost this weekend. Liverpool can lick salute Man U. Man U looking like they have a little vibe, like they have a little comeback in them. Chelsea, just when you think we getting somewhere, licks like dog. Liverpool, Liverpool. Who else get licks? Somebody else went down this weekend. Oh, Man City. I think they draw it. Was it Newcastle? Newcastle is the richest team in the world now, so I'll watch them. Newcastle, no small side again, but with that kind of action and that kind of vibes in the Premier League, I can't believe we're going to go a whole Premier League season where you're not going to be able to see the games. It does seem as though I could download Peacock here and pay for Peacock subscriptions. So my boy Bert was telling me to get a router with a VPN and all these kind of things. I find that's hard work. But they have this C Sport website that you could go on and you're seeing all the games free for now on their website. I understand they have an app as well, but I don't think it's working for iPhone. So on my TV, I could log into C Sport and I will get to see the games. I'll tell you, it's working real good so far. The game's real clear. It's showing better than my Racket box and my Racket Android Fire Stick or whatever it's called that. But it's working. But now I wonder if I had to pay. Do I have to pay when September comes to see a little Prem games on a weekend? And I can't confirm yet whether C Sports showing you any reruns. Like if you could watch the old games, or you could go back to the games you didn't see this season. Sometimes 5-6 games playing at the same time. I wonder if I could go and catch one of the games. So after I watched the big game yesterday, I could just watch some of the older games, especially for my fantasy team, which again looks like the big sides too. So, but it would be pretty sad if we can't get that. And we going into a period now where CPL coming back, so that's something to look forward to, and some games we could take in, maybe even go to. But I was looking at the sports lineup for the rest of the year, and NFL coming back, I would get to take in NFL as much as I could. That seemed to be working and free on digital still, but I come across something when I was looking at that saying that these same C Sport people, or Vericast, I guess is the company name, they also have the rights to the World Cup. Now, ladies, give me a minute, right? For the fellas, this would be pretty depressing if World Cup football not showing on TV. If that is the case, Amplia pull off the biggest heist or coup that they ever pull off in life. And as well as I was talking to Pantin about, if it's enough of a chip for people to switch. And maybe I could figure out this C Sport thing and pay for it. Or I wonder if I pay for the C Sport, if that gives me access just to the Premier League, or if it's just a channel access thing that I keep paying for so that when December come and World Cup start, I could watch that. But that is going to be a very interesting thing to see because they're saying Ampli are only responsible for about 30. Well, they said they could only reach 30% of the market now. So there are some places you can't get Ampli at all. But maybe they should expand the network if they're going to have exclusive rights to both the EPL and the World Cup. That's going to be an issue. Anyway, I have one more thing to do before I go to here. It's our fella to call because this is episode 110. And it's this fella 10th birthday. I can't believe all of a sudden I have a 10-year-old. I know what is going on here. Zachary! Zach! Zachary! I can't believe that somehow, like, I get to be the oldest man in the world. Close the door. I get to be the oldest. Close the door. I get to be the oldest man in the world, and all of a sudden I have a 10-year-old son come. Why are you looking at the camera and smiling so far?
Because I want to.
Why?
Because I want to. Oh gosh, I'm too big to face any camera.
Yeah, eat less. So how it feel to be turning 10 years old, brother?
Yeah, it's feeling nice, man. Double digits.
Did you just say double digits?
Yes.
You getting corny as you get older. So you just gone.
Yes, I go. I'm going to eat my dinner.
Listen, this man have his two partners here. So he ain't even taking me on. He turning 10 years old, and this is when you know you're starting to lose them, it's beginning and the end. So when you ask him what he want to do for the birthday, and saying everything he want to do with the birthday for all the rest of the years is I want mommy to do this, I want daddy carry me cinema, I want the... Now he say, I want my boys to come over. This guy seemed to think he had boys. So he say he want boys come over. So there have a fella named Jelani and a fella named Zane here, and them fellas having some kind of a sleepover. I want to excuse myself out of this place because I can't record here for too long because the men want to come here and play PlayStation where I record. So if all you hear no podcast next week is because Zachary and Zane and Jelani mash up everything inside this room in this sleepover. But this is when you know they're reaching the age. And listen, parenting is no joke anymore. I don't know. When you think of, I guess everything's happened with time. And you can't know nothing before you know it, right? But when you think of what our parents do and went through to raise us, and I can't imagine what my parents see when they see a whole 40-something-year-old person in front of them with a whole child and a whole young birdie married. I don't know how they deal with these things because looking at these little children now, you could see the little changes in them over time. And all of a sudden, this man, as he said, the man is in double digits and he looking for a line with his boys. Now he don't like when I hug him up. He's like, oh, God, daddy, you hold me too tight. Oh, God, daddy. He reach out, God, daddy stage. And it's something else, but you just have to cherish each one of these phases as they go and just go along with it. At the same time, I salute to my sister. Our sister, I used to call my little sister, my little baby sister, who just fly out this week and gone to law school. She's gone. And then we at the rate them going, she and she brothers, me feel she coming back. She done say when she done with law in Barbados, she going to England to finish Dubai and all them kind of things. And it's something else to see them. She was just a little child recently. And all these things is remind me why my Achilles snapped playing football. You know what I mean? Because it just, my Achilles itself get old. It's archaic. And it couldn't last. All right, well, that's pretty much it for me, you know. And we already played some Duke for this episode. Did I play more than one Duke? Yeah, I played more than one Duke. So let me keep it a Duke theme episode now. And since Duke had the lyrics to tell you about how many more must die, he also have a next song, you know. It had nothing to do with what's going on now, but the hook in this line is so relevant for what's going on in this country right now that I'm leaving you with this one. Yes?
Boy, yeah, yeah. Come on.
There's the intro for song long and it's heavy instrumental.
This is a bad one, baby.
This is a bad one.
This party go drive you crazy.
This is a bad one.
Anything you flaunt is valid in here. Pick up who you want and jam anywhere.
Hey, what up now?
It's total disorder.
If your social go border, total disorder going on in the country now. But I will talk to all of you next week.